side. Now, eagle rays are a ray, so they are related to the stingrays and the manta rays. It's a little bit out of focus now, Rianne. Does look like it's swimming off. They are a completely different shape to the stingrays. They're more like mantas in the fact that they have wings. Now, this is a spotted eagle ray, so it does have a spot pattern on the top side. Now, Rianne, everything is completely out of focus. And I'm sure they are swimming very hard to keep up with this eagle ray. So I'll just give you some information on the eagle ray. They originally thought that the spotted eagle ray was just one species, but they have now divided it into 3 by regions. So from genetic tests.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard. We are very excited to be out this morning. I'm always excited to be out, and we've got some little clouds rolling in. Hopefully that'll keep us a little warmer because it'll insulate the atmosphere for us. But it's a beautiful scene out here on quarantine, and we have lots and lots of plans today. Hello, everyone. It's me, Trishala. Nice to be with you again, day 2. I'm very excited. Like I said, I've got Panda on camera with me. He's smiling behind the camera. And we're going to head down to the den to start with. But also remember that this is your live safari, so please send through your questions using that hashtag WildEarth. Or, of course, you can go over to our website. You can register and use our questions and comments box. And if you are under 18, please use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. Whew. I think that one went smoother than yesterday's first drive back intro. I got it all down in one go. So what I love about the morning is the fact that it's fresh, it's new. There's the potential for so many tracks. All the wonderful things that drive has to offer, the bush has to offer. Yesterday afternoon, I went out with a similar attitude, just kind of didn't have much of a plan, and then we had a phenomenal drive full of wonderful variety. So let's try for the same thing today. It's all about setting expectations, isn't it? Oh, there we have a nice view of those clouds. I must say they're moving pretty quickly. And I do feel like the air is warmed up a little, so it's all looking good. It smells amazing this morning. Difficult to describe. Maybe I can bottle it. Start a side business. It's something in between not really freshly cut grass, but maybe slightly decaying grass, but not in a like a noxious smell way. And then a bit of damp ground. Oh, beautiful to take a couple deep. Mantha, you say, Safarians, it's time for a glorious bumble. It is. So let's head on down. Like I said, the first place we're going to head down to is the den, because still trying to figure out who's who. Thank you all for your wonderful messages to kind of help me out with the cubs. But we're going to try and solidify that knowledge this morning. I say try because it's going to take more than one drive to be able to do that, but we're going to try it.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
In that tree are 2 carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Well, it's not as graceful He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see. There he goes. Look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed the marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
So we haven't gotten down to the den yet, but we have a hyena, which is amazing, lovely, and you actually can't see, but there are some. I just telling you about the fact that there's antelope out on quarantine because it's nice and open, and that's usually where they are when it's safe. Hello, you. And there are some impala up on the other side that this hyena is looking at. You look like a young hyena, young hyena, because it's a little bit fluffy. You've got quite a distinctive ear. If you know who this hyena is, please let me know. Hi, Hannah. Hannah said I reached my goal so early. Yeah, I'm just a goal setter and achiever. I wish all my goals could be achieved this easily, just by driving a short distance. What's up? Looks a little bit unsure. Almost as if it's one of the first times this hyena's been up to quarantine or something like that. You can see that the head is quite low. You can see those shoulders are high, right? Watching the birds. This seems to be a common theme with the Djuma clan at the moment. The youngsters in the Djuma clan, they like birds. Now it's looking over at the impala that are just behind the Bushbrae site. You can't see them. I can barely see them at this point. This hyena's belly looks nice and full. And it looks like its tail's been dipped in some paint. Momo, you want to hug this hyena? Come over, Momo. Let's give it a shot. But it is very, very fluffy, this guy. Oh, look. It's Ali and Gert. As our hyena walks off, you can say hello. Look at them looking away from us. I bet they saw the hyena now too. Okay, let's move on towards the den. And then we'll see if this hyena comes to join us. But like I said to you, please, if you know who this is, please let me know. So this individual looks like it's going down to the den. And I'm going to send you over to Ali to say good morning properly, and you can ask her why she's being so cold this morning to me.
No. I actually was trying to be quite professional and not get in the way of Trishala and her presentation of the hyena, but I thought the hyena was further down the road, so I thought I had parked at a distance, but I did not. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we are looking at everybody's sunrise this morning. No? I mean, we're trying to put the sunrise in, but sometimes the world is a little bit skew, isn't it? It's actually not as cold as what it was yesterday. So we are quite excited to see the big ball of fire coming up through the horizon. And apparently there were lion tracks somewhere around this area in the morning. So at the moment is Trishala, myself, and Tristan out with WildEarth expedition. And I thought he had left the lions somewhere yesterday, the Talamatis, which I thought were the lions that Trishala was with last night, but turns out I was mistaken. So we want to go and try and follow up, see where Tristan had the last tracks, because obviously he is going to go track a leopard and not the lions. And Trish is going to go for the hyenas. So I'm not sure. We'll see how the morning goes. We still have to find the tracks. But it's always nice just to spend a couple of moments just looking at the sun rising. It's crazy how quickly it goes up and down. Safari Kitty, I agree with you. It's a beautiful sky, and I always find that in order to have a pretty sunrise or sunset, you need to have a bunch of clouds. If the clouds are not there, then it's not going to be as pretty, is it? And it's crazy just to see how quickly the clouds are moving and everything. I mean, it doesn't feel windy down here, but maybe by the water sources there is, or maybe it'll be a little bit windier later on. Hopefully not too windy, because that's generally what makes us quite cold. Alrighty, I think this is going up.
Well, you can see the hyenas are far more tolerant of vultures than a lion or leopard would be. Occasionally a hyena will bite sort of a couple of tail feathers out of the back of a vulture, but I've never actually seen them, even once they've caught one, actually kill it. Oh, there we go. Nearly got him.
Hyena and Hippo walking side by side. Terror etched on the expression of little Hippo. Look at this! Last mad dash! Hyena running along beside it. Baby Hippo, jaws gaping. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It did it. The baby hippo against all odds.
That sunrise actually looks very pretty. I like it. Alrighty, lion tracks, reveal yourselves. Let's see where they are. Whoop. So many tracks for elephants, but did you guys see lots of elephants yesterday? We also didn't, but it was quite funny because last night at one stage, after, the day was finished and we've all had dinner and then we go and hide in our rooms because it's quite cold, I sat down by the bed and I was just like, I smell elephant dung. Why do I smell? Of course, I don't know how, but I stood on the biggest pile of elephant dung and I took it all back to my room. So I went outside and Trish's room is next to mine. So I was like, Trish, do you want to hear something funny? And then she found it hilarious that I had not only stepped on a big pile of elephant dung, but also that I had not noticed for the entire afternoon and brought it back to my room. So there was a bit of an aroma. Whew. It's getting quite cold down here close to the dam. Almost looks like it's frozen. All right, let's see where these tracks. Tristan said they were kind of heading towards quarantine. They were heading west, but I want to see them for myself. I don't want to repeat my mistakes from yesterday where I trusted other people to tell me where the lion tracks had gone. So now let's see liony tracks. Can you see them? Where are they going? That way? Yeah. Up there. Safari Kitty, thank you for the trust. I am very happy that Gert is a tall man is in the vehicle with us because he spotted the lion tracks and they're going that way towards the dam camp. So Tristan was right, so was Gert, and so we're turning around and see which way they're going because it seems like they're going towards the dam camp. So I don't know, I didn't get any updates, so I don't know if they actually went all the way up there. But they did not drive up. The lions wouldn't drive. I mean, if they did, it would be scary. But it doesn't seem like they walked up here, up that road towards Tumbeta House. So we're just gonna see what is here. Of course. As yesterday morning we had the tracks coming from that way down, and then this morning we've got them going the opposite way. I actually cannot see any more tracks. There's the truck. Haley, well, we are very excited to have you on board too. Hopefully we'll get some of the cats coming in and out. I thought I saw a track. Yeah, there they are. They're going up that way, always towards camp. And I wonder where they actually cut up, because we didn't notice any lion tracks coming out. So, I don't know. Let's just go and have a look around, see where they've actually gone. We're all walking up straight ahead. Nice big lion tracks for the morning. That's the way we like it. Now we're just gonna go past the lodges, and it's hilarious how much cats like walking in the back ends of the lodges. I'm gonna try and navigate this area, see where the lions go, but we'll send you guys across to Trish, who's apparently making her way or has arrived to the Hyena Den.
I hope that you find your Tony cat, Sally. And thank you for letting me know that that was Navela. That's June's cub, June's daughter. Last time I saw Navela, she was not looking like that. That's him talking about the hyena cub that we saw up there in quarantine. So I'm getting there, guys. Getting to refamiliarize myself with everybody. And we are almost at the den, so I'm only gonna keep learning. I saw some evidence of elephants moving about. I'd love to see some elephants this morning too. But I always find that if we can spend the first hour with some predators, it's a good time.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
So no cubs, but this looks like Swazi. Heard you have a cubby. Swazi and Ndebele seem very committed to being at the den in those specific spots. And if you remember, one of the first things I noticed about being with hyenas, or adults and mums particularly. Oh, let's just answer William's question quickly before I tell you about what I noticed about mums at the den. William, hi William, you'd like to know how far from the den the males would normally be when there are cubs. Did I get that right, Mel? I think that was the gist of it. So the males in a hyena clan are immigrant males. When I mean the adult males are usually immigrant males. So that means that they're not born into the clan. Those males that are born into the clan are cubs, and they will leave the clan once they are mature. So the immigrant males don't have to spend time away from the den or very close to the den. They're certainly part of the clan, but they're not usually pushed away just because they're cubs. Because they are immigrant males, they are the lowest ranking in the clan. So that means that generally, whether they are cubs or not, they're always going to be treated a little bit differently than the family bloodline, the matriarchal bloodline. So, for example, Comet is an immigrant male, but Comet is also an immigrant male that has a very good relationship with the females within the clan. Now, relationships are also important, particularly for immigrant males, because they don't have the benefit of being somehow related and or growing up with the other hyenas within the clan, because they've come from maybe EP clan and they've come in. So one like Comet has really bonded with the females, and I can tell that because he spends a lot of time with the females, and often the females would leave him with the cubs. And even now, I am sure you would have seen him around the den. I'm not sure if the hyenas are just very curious about the birds, or the birds just seem to be... Look at this bird. The starling's just right there at the den entrance. Oh. I think birds can also be curious about hyenas, certainly. So a male like Comet, who's an immigrant male, has a good relationship with the females in the clan, and so he spends a lot of time here. But that's not because the females chase away other immigrant males like Luca or Fika, who are other males within the clan. In fact, I'm not sure when the last time you would have seen those males were. But if they were close to the den and they've had a positive relationship with the females, then they will be allowed close by. Because remember, it's all about rank. And so if even a male cub is going to outrank these immigrant males. In fact, a male cub will even outrank anyone that's below his mother's rank, even though he is a male. But rank is what matters most within a hyena clan. So just the fact that the cubs are much higher ranking than the immigrant males means that they're pretty much safe if the males are around. So males can be close to the den, or they can be far from the den. The difference is it's not a requirement for them to be at the den, because they serve no purpose at the den. Apart from in the case where perhaps the females want to leave, and then they want to have a babysitter at the den site, in which case I've seen Comet be that babysitter a number of times.
This is amazing, and now she's headed towards the elephants. Yeah, here comes the male behind us. This is the male lion coming over here. The elephants are huddled up to protect the young ones in the middle, and he's going after that girl. And they are the buffalo going after the lion and the lioness. They're still going after them. Look at that guy charging. Hey!
Hello everyone from sunny Namibia. My name is Cameron Pierce, and this year I'll be representing Ongava Game Reserve at the Safari Guide of the Year 2022 edition. You know, a lot of people have asked me what it would be like to win the competition, and it would obviously be an incredible privilege, but even just to be selected as one of the 5 finalists is an honor that I never expected, and special to be a part of it for this year.
And you can see that these birds are puffed up a little bit, and that's because it's still a little bit chilly. Once the sun pops through, they'll look nice and sleek again. for me, starlings are the prettiest colored birds. Yes. You are so right, Benjamin. I just was mentioning that too. The colors of a starling are really, really, really pretty. In fact, this particular one, this Birchall starling, is my favorite. It's very similar in coloration to the other glossy starlings that we get. But it has like a teeny bit more purple, I feel. And then the tail feather is a bit more diamond-shaped and longer than the other two glossy starlings that we get here. And that color, I'm sure that you've heard before. If you haven't and you're a new viewer, that color is not a result of pigment. That color is a result of tiny little microstructures that are on the feathers of the starling, and they reflect light in different ways and scatter light in different ways. So what you're seeing is an effect. It's structural coloration. There's no pigment there. Well, there is a pigment, but it's melanin. There's no color pigment there apart from melanin. So that's why when it's very dull, in fact, that's why if you were in a dark room with a starling, well, that applies to any light, really. But if it's very dark, you won't actually see such lovely color. You'll just kind of see a dark bird. Very cool. Okay, well, we're gonna come back here. We're just gonna take a quick drive down to the dam and see what we can find there. And we're gonna send you over to Taylor in Pridelands to say good morning in the meantime.
And a spider web, probably some of my favorite spiders, and if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the only social spiders in Africa. But of course, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Mpho. BK has gone home on a nice holiday, so Mpho will be joining us. But we're here at Pridelands, which is part of one of Eco Training's camps here in Baluli Game Reserve, and part of the Greater Kruger. Now, it doesn't look like we're on a road, right? We're kind of sitting in the middle of the bush. I found a 2-track, which is, I suppose, a very informal road that runs off into the bush, and I thought I'd utilize it because yesterday afternoon, probably while we were with the lion, somebody found a leopard drag mark. Pretty cool. Many hours ago. So we went to have a look this morning, and it seems as though a herd of elephants have also moved through the area. So I tried to follow the drag mark for as long as I could, and then the elephants started digging and kicking at the sand and pushing trees over, and there were lots of roots exposed, and has completely destroyed most of the evidence. But there's nothing coming out of this block just yet, so I'm kind of just doing little loops and laps and hoping that we're going to find out who it is. It's not too far away from where we've been seeing a lot of female leopard tracks, and we think maybe Des Moines, which is a female leopard, Pixie Pan's sister, or it could be Pixie Pan because she also frequents that area. But there's just been a lot of consistent movement back and forth, which makes me think that whoever it is of the two, the last time they were seen, or they've had cubs, but they haven't been seen for a while. So quite exciting. So I thought I'd put in a little bit of work this morning and try to find one of those females. And they're not 100% habituated. I think Des Moines is a lot more relaxed around the cars. Pixie Pan, it depends on which way the wind is blowing. Sometimes she's fine. Sometimes she's just not happy at all. But she's usually okay with one vehicle. But we'll see. So I think let's just carry on driving down this road. I've got to spin back in again. And I've also, I almost introduced myself as Taylor, can't feel my fingers, McCurdy, because I left my gloves at home.
My name's Liam Henderson. I'm a guide at the Homestead Lodge on Nambiti Private Game Reserve in KwaZulu-Natal. I think Safari Guide of the Year is a great competition to be a part of. I'm somewhat nervous for the tracking part of the competition, as being in KZN now, haven't been exposed to the low-felt animals and tracks and signs that are so apparent up there.
Are you a fan of the Djuma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our Hyena Hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Juma Clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of hyena celebrations.
Well, I mean, I know why. Because I'm not a leopard and I don't really know what leopards are looking for when they're trying to hide their trees. Because we think that they obviously want to put their kills up in trees where they can conceal them nicely, where maybe they've got nice big comfortable branches, you know, extending from the trunk of the tree. And this is obviously not the case at all. I've seen leopards put their tree kills in the most ridiculous small trees. How they even balance up there and feed amazes me. But, you know, anyways. Okay, let us carry on going forward. I think there might be another little rocky outcrop in here. Not sure. I remember I've been in here before following, I can't remember what animal it was, and going, rocks. Maybe we're going to pop out on another road. Perhaps someone was trying to even create a road, because they are putting in a few new roads in Pridelands at the moment. More rocks? No, it's just bushes. Maybe that's a bit further on somewhere else that I'm getting a bit confused with. All these areas start to look very much the same. Okay. I'm going to keep searching and I'm going to keep just checking all the trees and then I'll eventually make my way out. Well, Ali's pretty much doing the same thing. She's not checking the trees. She's looking for tracks on the ground.
I'm so sorry you forgot your. I'm wearing two, so I could magically send her one pair if she really needed it. But yeah, she might lose all of her fingers. But at least she's walking, I think, so maybe that way it wouldn't be as cold. We did a big loop around quarantine, couldn't find any lion tracks going the way we thought we wanted them to go. Now I'm looking at things that look like lion tracks, but I'm not convinced they are. I think this is my wishful thinking, because the soil was very hard, but they seemed to, so they came past the dam, they carried on walking behind sort of house, the back of house of Untitled Lodge. Seems like they walked straight into camp and then moved on to sort of Galago, which is another road, or the road that we're on. We haven't really seen proper lion tracks on this road because it's quite a rocky road and it's very hard soil. I could have sworn I saw, yes, I am seeing a lion track. Yes, I did not imagining. Yes. So we're following the road just to see where they go. Unfortunately, there are a couple of places where they can go from here. If they carry on going straight into this road, they can head to Buffelshoek, which is a property to our north. Or if they carry on walking a little bit further, then they're going to go onto Manialeti as well. So I think somebody sent us a dam cam update that around 1 o'clock in the morning there were 5 lions walking around. No idea who the 5 lions would be, maybe in Kahumas, because the Talamatis were all together somewhere else. And they were in a different, yeah, these guys have been walking down this road. Yay! So we're just going to carry on driving here, hopefully figure out where they were. And it's quite nice that in general, most of the big cats like walking on the roads, makes our lives that much easier at certain times of the year.
Long misunderstood as dim-witted, gluttonous scavengers, the hyena over the years has had a serious PR crisis on its paws. Here at WildEarth, our beloved Juma clan has allowed us a chance to set the record straight.
We're sitting here with the Juma clan.
So now it's time to honor this critical animal and join our hyena hullabaloo. Trishala Naidu, a self-confessed hyena lover, will be leading the celebrations, culminating in a chance to name Ribbon's new cubs.
My name is Nico Brits. I am originally from Cape Town. I worked in the Eastern Cape for about 9 years before I started working at Bushwise Field Guides in the Lowveld, close to Makalali Private Game Reserve. So I'm hoping that by doing this could inspire the younger or newer guides coming into the industry to do the same.
Any your side ahead? Nothing. Okay. I did see their tracks now, but like I said, going that way now, or there was a lion sitting here facing that way. Okay. Trish is admiring some beautiful reflections in a water hole, so we're gonna send you guys across to her while we try and figure out where these guys went. Okay, so
Well, if I hear anything or I see anything that can help Ali, I will definitely let her know. But now we're at Treehouse Dam. Lots of clouds, as you can see. We've mentioned it before. There's also a bit of mist settling in. I don't know if it's clearing up or settling in, to be honest. And there is a guest in the dam. There's a hippo. So I was here yesterday. We actually spent a lot of time here yesterday because we were looking at the spoonbill. And we did not see any hippo. So this guy's come here overnight, I suspect. My breath and the hippo's breath are both creating a nice misty exhale. Shame this water must be cold. But if you're an aquatic creature, that doesn't really matter, does it? Interestingly, cold doesn't really matter at all, especially for animals that are used, for example, to cold water like this. Cold is not a problem. We just, as humans, as warm-blooded animals, we really enjoy being that perfect temperature. But cold is not really a problem. Ice is the problem. So, yeah, obviously that ice is correlated to coldness. Without coldness, you're not going to get ice. But what I mean is that the actual temperature, just being cold, is not a problem. Ice is a problem because ice will basically, the insides of your cells or any cells of an animal will crystallize, and that means that they can get punctured and ruptured. For example, frostbite. And that is totally detrimental to survival, especially if your whole body is frozen. But if it's just cold, that's okay. At least for animals that are used to it. For us comfy creatures, there can be some complications if you get too cold. Oh, I thought I saw a leopard on the other side of the dam, but it was just an Egyptian goose. It's fine. At least it looks like an Egyptian goose. Let me pull out my sweet little binos. And there's our heron. Yeah, that was an Egyptian goose. Cool. You can see why at this distance with that kind of color I thought it might have been a leopard. That's that morning spirit where you think anything's possible. Oh, hey, Kate. You'd like to know what birds do we hear very early in the morning? Pretty much all birds that sing. Particularly francolins, you're going to hear them in the morning because for some reason they're very, very loud and also a bit easily spooked in the morning. And the reason that you hear lots of birds in the morning, it's called the dawn chorus, is because the air is nice and cool. So Oh, there we can hear the Egyptian goose. Or geese, 2 of them. So birds like to take advantage of the fact that the air is cool. And if the air is cool, it means that that sound will travel further. And the sound travels further because we know that warm air rises. So if the air is cold, it does not rise and take the sound away from the surface of the earth. Instead, the sound is pulled down by the cool air because cooler air sinks. So it means that for less effort, their song can go further. And birds sing not just to communicate essentially, and that can be communicating territory, communicating to potential mates. So this morning, the dawn chorus is an important part of a bird's ritual, and pretty much any bird that will sing and that can make a noise or make a sound rather will do so in the early morning. Our hippo is gone, but the sun's coming up nicely. And if the sun's coming up nicely, it could mean that those cubs will be out very soon. So we'll head back that way in a bit. Oh, there you are. So I'm going to tell you a story about a hippo. So I recently saw on a cam or a clip from one of the cams across Africa of a hippo who got out of the water and was actually drinking from a bit of a well. And it's so lovely to see a hippo out of water because then you get a real idea of this huge body, this huge barrel-shaped body, and the small stout legs on which it's perched. So anyway, this hippo was walking around, drinking from a little bit of a well, and there's 2 young hyenas, 2 cubs, but not small cubs, just those shaggy type, like the size that Navella that we saw this morning is. These 2 cubs are so interested in this hippo, and they tried to bite its bottom, and it was just so cute. And the hippo's just like turning around, giving them a bit of attention, mouth open, and then carries on drinking from the well. And the cubs come back, and they're super curious about the hippo. And it was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen. I love watching animals interact. And never would I have thought that hyena cubs and hippos would be interacting in such a way. Neither species were hurt, at least not during the period that I saw them on that cam. But it was very interesting to watch. Also the fact that the hippo was distracted by the hyenas, but only when they came very, very close. And the one time the hyena's nose was right in, on the hippo's bottom. Very, very cool interaction.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruan Grobler. I'm from Lion Sands Game Reserve, and being nominated for the Safari Guide of the Year came as somewhat of a surprise to me. I was very excited and quite nervous as well in the beginning to tackle this task, but it's quite a prestigious event, and it means that you are recognized, and I'm quite happy to be recognized. It means quite a lot to me.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
Hi Gary, you'd like to know if hippos prefer colder or warmer waters? we should start off by saying that hippos, because they're amphibious, there's always a threat that there may not be enough water because they're not in the sea, right? So that means that they're a lot less choosy about the temperature of water that they'd like to be in. But also remember that they're large animals. They have fairly thick skin. So if the water is very warm, they will likely get too hot. That being said, though, hippos are, like I said, not very choosy about the type of water that they'd like to be in. There probably is a sweet spot, but I don't know what that sweet spot is, because remember, there's hippos up in St. Lucia. There's a huge hippo population there in northern KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. And that is a warm area. And the water, even the groundwater, is warmer than it would be down here. Or up here, rather. Up and to the side. So it's very much, I suppose, maybe even these little subpopulations would have a preference. Their own specific preference for what the good temperature is. Wow, these clouds are motoring. You can probably see that the colors started to change. Everything's tinged this wonderful yellow. And that's because the sun has popped out. And that means that the air is going to warm up pretty quickly. So I'm going to take the next few moments to just listen while I still can, and that sound is traveling quickly. And I'm going to send you over to Ali, see how our tracking mission is going.
Okay, sorry, I just stole the car for trying to actually get to show you guys. So we've been following these lion tracks. It seems like those lions we were following eventually join up with more lions. I mean, there were tracks for a male at one stage, but it seems like these lions then join up with lions that have got smaller lions. Just by looking at all of the tracks around here. Do not come and eat me. This one's. So if you can see here, let me just grab a little bit of a stick just to point them out. There's quite a pretty track around here, this one here. So you can see obviously quite a big track. I mean, compared to the size of my hand, lion tracks tend to be quite big. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 toes roundabout there. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back. So there is one here, one there, one there, one there, one there. And then they've just carried on walking down the road. So we are on the boundary between Djuma and Buffelshoek. So basically, Hurt is almost on Buffelshoek. And we've just been following them because graciously they've all been walking up and down the road. And it seems like they kind of turned their general direction. They were walking up on Gallagher Shortcut, heading straight sort of to the boundary. But then we saw a bunch of elephant tracks and then lions walking up and down. So we don't know if maybe they bumped into the elephants and then, you know, they had a bit of a thing with the elephants, or maybe they got distracted and started hunting. And then as we got to the boundary, then there are tracks coming out of Buffelshoek, and then they all kind of join up and go that way. So that's where we're going. Still no tracks of lions. I mean, it could be game over at any stage if they do cross into Buffelshoek, which is a property right on the left, because we do not traverse there. So fingers crossed. Brownie points for the lions if they're around. And then we'll just carry on looking for them.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
My name is Solomon Robu. I am working at Singita Kruger National Park. I am very excited today to be one of the guys that have been nominated to selected to participate in the Safari Guide of the Year. I'm an activator. I like studying something, motivating others to become better, I am positive. I like to focus on the positive sides of the situation.
Okay, Tamboti Dam is just there. Go ahead.
Good morning. Any updates?
Not many updates. Just I'm busy with some lion tracks around Buffelshoek cut line. Tristan, I think, was trying to follow up on Tlalamba, and Trish was at the Hyena Den.
Alright, copy. Thank you.
Alrighty, there we go. Where did you guys go? Virginia, thank you for loving my excitement so early in the morning. I love lion tracks, so I get very excited with lion tracks. More so than leopard tracks, I am sorry to say this. But it's just that there's so many of them and they look so cool and they're so big. So there is that. And then you see the little tracks for the cubs or the smaller lions, and then your heart just gets all warm and fuzzy inside because they're sweet and pretty. But now I want them, I don't want any more tracks, I want the actual lions, as Het was saying. Please, on a termite mound, on this side, posing beautifully, still going this way. I mean, these lions have really done the Juma Gym. They've been pretty much everywhere. I don't know what their deal is. But they're heading back to sort of Buffelshoek Dam area, or that's kind of their general direction. So let's see. Not sure where they are.
Seven of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Heart's cub, adventurous and brave, and daughter to one of our most loved mothers. Is her name Moya, meaning wind or soul, for that adventurous side? Is it Shiluva, meaning flower, for her growth? Or is it Mbilo, meaning heart, as Heart's daughter with a heart on her side? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Corky's cub, the boldest and proudest of the group. Is their name Koa, showing boldness, fearlessness, and bravery? Is it Kalula, as the energetic and speedy one? Or is it Zunani, the leader? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
These lions have walked a very long distance, so we're going to carry on following them. Thankfully, they're on the road, but we'll send you guys across to Trish, who's enjoying a bumble.
Maybe those are the tracks that we saw yesterday, but I must say I didn't see any lion tracks when we were coming down this side either. Anyway, we've left Treehouse Dam. I'm just doing a quick... Oh, I think I might have a passenger. Yes, I do. Oh, I now have to take off all my layers to jump out. My hot water bottle, etc. So anyway, we heard alarm calls, or what sounded like alarm calls, but they were in the distance. So we're just going to go down here towards Treehouse Dam, towards Twin Dams, and see if there's anything we can pick up on. Maybe there's some tracks. Maybe they weren't alarm calls. Maybe it was just my overzealous bush feeling now that I'm back. But we'll go and check it out anyway. If I don't see any tracks, then we'll come back towards the Hyena Den because I do want to spend time with them. There we go. Oh, hi Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us, and you're asking a really amazing question. So you're 9 years old, Stephen, and you would like to know, how old do you have to be a good tracker? There's no age that would make you a good tracker. If you just try really hard and you learn and you spend lots of time out in the bush practicing, because you know when you practice a lot, then you can be very good at anything. So all you have to do is practice hard. And the more experience and the more practicing you do, the better tracker you will become. So even you, Stephen, at 9 years old, if you decide you want to start tracking now, maybe you go outside and you look for cats. You look for cats tracks, or maybe you look for bird tracks and insect tracks. Then when it comes time that you can be a safari guide when you're 18, even earlier when you're 16, you can start to do other small courses before you can officially become a guide. Then you'll be very, very good. So all you have to do is practice hard and get lots of experience. So that's why people who are older that have been in the bush for a long time are very, very good trackers, because they've had lots of experience and lots of practice. So Stephen, if you start practicing now, I'm sure that you'll be a great tracker not too far in the future. I think that you should check what's happening in your own backyard. That's the best place to go off and start being a naturalist, really. You look at what's happening around you and what you have access to. Whoa, bouncy. So we're going to do just a quick loop here and then we'll go back towards the den. I'm just interested in checking. Ooh. Well, maybe this is a good time to stop, because then I can listen as well. And I saw some spider webs. Here we go. Just taking a moment to listen. Oh, well, I hear a lot of people and a vehicle, but nothing else just yet. Anyway, here we have some tropical tent web spiders. Or at least we have their webs. I love the way that the moisture collects on the web and makes them so obvious. It makes trees look like little Christmas trees.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ntima's first cub, and they're turning out to be quite the handful. Is their name Loki, after the Norse god of mischief and trickery? Is it Hlongavi, the one who can't be tamed? Or is it Shihleko, full of giggles? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ntima's second born, and dare we say golden child, full of fun? Is their name Kira, the beam of light? Is it Kemba, meaning faithful in Norse? Or is it Mikateko, the blessed one? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
That looks like a community nest spider's nest. So we have a bit of a variety of spiders around here. I really want to get them actually out and about so that we can see what they look like, because they're beautiful little spiders that live in this community nest, spider's nest. There we go. Okay, let me send you back over to Ali, see how her tracking's doing. I'm going to turn around and go towards the den now.
Was there something there?
Avram, just make your way here. Just managed to find, looks like some of the Nkuhumas.
Thanks, obviously.
Alrighty, sorry guys. Okay, yeah, please can you control the standbys? I'm gonna be live, thank you. Alrighty, I'm gonna switch this radio off. So, all of our hard work paid off. So we have managed to, I wanna say Nkahumas just because there are 4 lions in there. But I could be mistaken. I do not think this is all the lions that we've been looking for. I do think that there are more somewhere. But who knows actually where. And I have to admit something, and I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. So where we did the tracks earlier, it wasn't too far from here. And we'd just been driving, and Gert and I have been like, no, oh, you know, they're in the boundary. There are some buffalo tracks that go up and down, you know, the buffalo tracks were crossing, and then we start seeing lion tracks going up and down. So we're a little bit stressed that maybe they would have crossed, and then we're driving. I'm driving like this with my head to the ground. Gert is looking onto the other side, and then all of a sudden I smell something, and I was like, this is very distinctive. I look up, we were just, you know, I was driving like the eye level next to the lions, and the lions were pretty much right next to the road. So if that was a tracking assessment, I reckon I would have failed. I mean, we got successful because we saw them, but technically speaking, from a tracking assessment point of view, you're supposed to not drive past them. You're supposed to find them early on. So that was quite funny. But yay for lions. And some of these boys have got some really big paws. I mean, it's quite exciting because the sun is shining and maybe they're going to start getting some of the light there. Look how adorable they look. You guys walked a lot, actually. It's potentially the ones that we saw on the dam cam, but I'm missing one. I only see 4 of them. So I don't know if maybe one is sleeping a little bit further down or somewhere else. You guys can go this way. So they've done quite a long loop around. I mean, they've basically walked everywhere. If you want, you can... So yeah, this was... I like it when the lions are around where they're supposed to be. It's always exciting. Well done, Gert. We did well. Your length and me spotting the lions as we drive past them. And to be honest, that little jump that is there, I got excited there for a second. You know, your imagination starts running wild and you see lion tracks and buffalo tracks and, you know, animals going up and down. And it kind of looks like the leg of a dead buffalo. So I was like, oh, maybe, you know, maybe. But no, that is a stump, a tree stump. So yay for lions. I like it when they're around. I'm looking so sleepy and sweet. And it's crazy, just to see how many scars the one young male has got in his face. Much more so than compared to some of the girls. I don't know if there's maybe a 5th lion hidden in there somewhere. I would imagine it's here somewhere because everything would add up. The tracks that the guy saw coming from the east and the lions that we saw on the dam cam, and then of course the ones that we've been following. But I have a suspicion this lion's met up with other lions sometime throughout the night. I don't think this is all of the ones that we've been tracking, but at this stage I'm not sure where they've gone. Oh, they are looking adorable. So it's been a long morning of tracking. We're going to spend some time with them, but let's head over to Taylor, who's got a hornbill that is doing some interesting things.
Everybody needs to stop what they're doing right now and give the southern red-billed hornbill a round of applause, because it is, I'm deeming it, the most accommodating hornbill I've ever met in my entire life. Not like the one that got stuck in my house that one time. Anyways, actually, I think it was yesterday morning, we were talking about how birds keep themselves warm. And I was saying to you how they fluff their feathers up to allow, you know, warm air in, and then they trap them within their feathers. And I think that this hornbill is doing a splendid job of demonstrating that. You can see how it also had dropped its wings just a bit down to the side of its body and exposing those much smaller feathers on its back, and also doing a bit of feather maintenance, a bit of preening. But it is so chilly for that bird. So it's climbed all the way up to the top, even risking its little feet and sitting on a knobthorn currently. I wouldn't be able to do that. If I clambered around that bush, my goodness, I'd look like I've been through a paper shedder. They have so many thorns on them. But of course, birds are pretty careful. Well, I say this, but if you saw the way that the hornbill landed in the tree, maybe you would not agree with my statement. It did a good recovery, though. And then, Paul, I'm going to try... I'm going to put my foot on the clutch quickly. I don't know, I was hoping I was going to roll back. So, there's a whole bunch of little birds that are coming into the tree now, but there's another really cool one. I don't know if you can see, like, in this bottom section. Not at the bottom, but like a third of the way up. There's another really small bird. And it's out in... Can you see it? Yeah. Ah, there we go. So that looks like a rattling testicular. Oh, of course, there it goes. It was a rattling testicular. There's quite a few of them out and about. But, up there on the hornbill now. There was also some waxbills that came through. But I'm hoping maybe if the longer we sit here, maybe some more birds will come popping out. I'm also surprised to see this hornbill on its own. Who's your partner? Been seeing a lot of single birds lately.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's second born, with nicked ears and a softer heart full of adventure. Is their name Rangani, the adventurer? Is it Twela, the sensitive and empathetic one? Or is it Spirit, for that spirited soul we love so much? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's firstborn, distinct from their sibling by their full round ears and more curious nature. Is their name Matimba, meaning strength? Is it Shongela, the defender of the weak? Or is it Wiley, the crafty and cheeky one? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
Birds, it's other small knobthorn. Actually, look in here. Do you see in the fallen tree here? Yes, that hornbill did find the perfect spot in the sun. It's another rattling testicular. I don't know if it's the same individual as there's quite a few of them around. They're all shouting at each other. Feeling a bit safe in there. See how it's using the tree that's sort of fallen over. It's obviously got some nice sun, but quite a few scrappy branches just to provide a bit of protection in case say something like a shikra or another bird of prey might just dart down and try to grab it. There's also a few waxbills. I'm just waiting for them to pop up there down on the ground. I think that they are feeding. They're very difficult to see the very tiny birds in the long grass. And now everybody is starting to sing their beautiful songs. Everybody's having a full go at it. I love the way once they've rubbed their beaks, obviously we've spoken about this quite a bit, how there's little barbules on those feathers, on the barbs itself. And it's very important they run their beaks through that so that they can realign them, almost like a zipper. Otherwise, those feathers are not going to do what they need to do. And of course, they need to be tightly bound together so that they can generate uplift. I like the little shake, though, that this rattling testicular is doing. Maybe getting any excess debris off of it, any soil or excess skin. Mites? Who knows what it's shaking off. Right. One thing I don't want to do is cuddle any of these birds because they don't look very warm and fluffy. However, Ellie's got some lions and I'm sure she's very tempted to dive on into the middle of the pile of the cats.
Oh, this is the best cuddle pile. I'm sorry, leopards cannot do this. Buffaloes cannot do it. Rhinos can actually do this. They also like piling on top of one another. Elephants, unless they're kind of young, they don't normally do it. But look at that. Isn't that the picture of what, well, I know today's Friday, but kind of like what a Sunday morning should be. And these guys like I said, they've walked a lot, and then I was just chatting to some of the other guys that have come from just outside of the Traverse, and they say there are lion tracks everywhere. So yesterday was quite a busy night for all of the lions, and I was saying to Hurt earlier today, I heard a lot of lions roaring from different directions throughout the night. So I suspect, sub-adults have been trying to get out of the way, out of the way of wherever or as far away as possible. Sorry, there's just a car driving behind them that's leaving the sighting. That's why they got their heads up. But you can see now there are indeed 5 lions. So these are the ones that we were looking for this morning. I like it when the mornings work out. And then we find whoever's been walking up and down around here. But as I say, I suspect that they met up with other lions throughout the night just because of the tracks that we've been seeing. So sounds like also these guys have been walking all over. They even mentioned, I think the guy was mentioning that some of them there were some more lions that people were following up from Simbambili, or these guys were there yesterday. So everybody's been walking quite a bit. So we'll get an update about it a little bit later, I'm sure, but it's quite exciting that, things worked out. We didn't drive past the lions.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Swazi's cub, our surprise wanderer. Is their name Saga, meaning story in Icelandic? Is it Matimu, for history made? Or is it Masingita, the surprise? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
Tyler, lions are actually quite big, cuddly things. So if they're in the same pride and they've kind of bonded together and have good relationships with one another, it's not rare to see them all piled up like this. So very likely these are litter mates or cousins or somewhat related. So from a young age, they've pretty much grown up together. So they all like sleeping together. When you see big males, dominant males, they're not necessarily bonded as much with the pride as the rest of them. So you'll often find them maybe lying down a little bit further away. But these guys are still young. You can see they don't have a fully formed mane. Still very light in color, not big. It does get much bigger than that. So that is quite cool when you see a big male lion with a big mane. And I think yesterday the S8 male was roaring, the Avokas were roaring. These guys are a little bit too young still, and they don't have their own territory to be roaring that way. I have seen them, though, like if you've got the entire pride together and the pride is roaring, then the young males will join, but they won't roar to advertise their territory just yet, especially when now they have to be a little bit secretive about their movements and where they go just to try and keep themselves alive. Because big male lions, particularly males that didn't sire them, will not be tolerant of young males around. So they'll try to kick them out of their territories sometimes, or it can become a fatal event because young male lions are seen as potential future competition to the dominant males. So they tend to kick them out of the area just so that they move off and then they don't interfere with any of the other issues. It's funny because I'm actually seeing lion tracks here and they look a little too small for these lions. I wonder if maybe there aren't any more lions sleeping right next to the road and we just haven't seen them. It is one of those mornings. I had a vivid memory of the last time that I was here. Also, we were following lions on this boundary, and we saw lion tracks, and we started following. We're like, oh, these look really, really fresh. And then just as we follow the trail, we pretty much saw the lions. So apparently, this road does that to you. I'm not going to complain as long as those tracks keep pointing us to where the animals have come onto. That's actually quite a big distance. Trish has found something small and interesting, so let's head over to her and find out what it is. Sapi, was Roy saying that there's more Ngala?
My mushroom is not sleeping, but very much like the lion, it is staying in one spot. I hope that you're all as excited as I am for the mere fact that I found a mushroom. We're heading back to the den, and then we just happened to stumble upon these guys. So you can see I can see at least 3, maybe even 4. So there's the big parasol one there. They look like dung roundheads, but I haven't gotten off the vehicle to have a proper look. But their stalk seems a little bit thick. Well, maybe it's just the camera. Either way, we can be very sure that they are mushrooms and that they're growing in some elephant dung. Ooh, there's a nice big one there too. So that one has a cracked, if you can see that cap, it's quite cracked. So as a mushroom develops, if we just, Panda, if we go like to the left, there's a very small one, like a little round thing on the ground. Yeah. There we go. So on the leftmost mushroom, it's now in the center of your screen. It's very, very small and round and close to the ground. So that's how a mushroom starts to grow out of whatever its substrate it's growing in. And that the stalk is not well developed, right? And then the stalk pushes up, and then the mushroom, the head of it, expands. And that covering over the top, like, you know, when you buy mushrooms for your dinner, they've got this slightly more slimy kind of, almost like a peel, but it's not really a peel. It's called the universal veil, and it's a protective covering as the mushroom explodes out of the ground. And so the caps of these mushrooms that we're seeing all have that veil. So if we go back to the one at the right that Panda was showing us earlier that was cracked, it's that veil that has begun to crack. And that's a good way to tell species apart, because we look at several things. Obviously, we look at the color, we look at where it's growing, we look at whether that universal veil is cracked on the head or whether it's not. And we have a look at definitely the spore pattern. And in fact, there's many, many things when you're trying to identify a mushroom that you need to look at, which is why even if you think you know what mushroom it is, you should always, always double and triple check. And even as somebody who really likes mushrooms and enjoys identifying them, I would not eat any mushrooms that I pick out in the wild, because I can never really be 100% sure. Also, I'm not that confident in my IDs to be able to be like, nah, I can eat this and not have an issue. Anyway, I think I might jump off and have a look.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Cool. Okay, so this is very cool, but unfortunately I can't show you the gills and the underside. But what I can do, no, I'd prefer not to. So these ones also have cracked tops. This one has a cracked top too, but the spore pattern, just check. So the gills under here, let me point with this, the gills under here are not black. I can't tell what they are. I don't want to break it and check, but I can tell by touching underneath that at least they're not black. But the ones under this one are most definitely black. I think you might be able to see that. Can you see that, Panda? So that's black. So we know already that these are two different species. Then over here, this tiny one here. Ooh, sorry, little one. That looks like a little Japanese umbrella. Well, I mean, that's actually what the mushroom is called sometimes. But it does look like a little Japanese umbrella, which is why the name is appropriate. And there's some more of them. Oh, this is a great one. This is actually quite mature, so I'm happy to take this one out. I'll bring this to the car so we can have a good look, because it is so tiny. Ooh, Ali's got some exciting stuff going on. I'll send you over to her quickly.
Righty. It's quite exciting because there are some kudu that have just crossed the road and a little bit of a distance from us, and they haven't yet spotted the lions. So the two young males actually, it's 3 young males and 2 females. Okay, good to know. The 2 young males, the one that had its head on the top, then he started sniffing, and then all of a sudden the rest of them sort of got their heads up and they started looking backwards, or facing in the direction they are, backwards for us. And there's, looks like a small breeding herd of kudu, maybe about 4 or 5 of them. And they haven't spotted the lions yet. I think the grass is playing in the lions' favor. They're also sort of from where the kudus are. They're behind a termite mound, so the lions are quite excited, as you can see. I suspect that they've been looking for food overnight. They're not looking particularly skinny, but, you know, it's a good opportunity and it's everything for them. There's another car that wants to maybe cross, but I don't want this car to move. It's a car from a lodge. No, don't go that way. Just stay there. They're busy lancering some kudu. So if you go that way, you're gonna scare them. Okay, but can you take it further down on the road? Please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so maybe crisis averted. So there's a car term that it's actually wants to get towards the gate, but the way that it wanted to sort of move out of the sighting would have impacted the lions and the kudu, likely. So there is a fire break, which is not too far from here, but it's enough of a distance that it won't, if he goes that way, he's not going to disturb the lions or the kudu. So actually, kindly, he's agreed to do that, which we're very appreciative about, just to see how this plays out. I mean, had the kudu seen the lion, they would have barked. And generally, whenever antelope species see a predator, they bark. Kudus generally just do one bark, one very loud bark, sounds like a dog barking, and then they move off. But they haven't seen the lions, because had they seen the lions, they would have definitely barked. Now the kudu have carried on moving. I'm not sure if these guys are going to try their luck. It would be exciting if they do. I cannot believe how big these young males are. They are massive. They are such beautiful lions. Whew. Guys, I know you walked a lot, but if you wanted to go hunting, we wouldn't hold it against you. Just look at how intent they are. They all know the kudu are there. The kudu have just carried on walking as if nothing had happened. It seems like the young male has kind of lost interest. Maybe it'll be up to one of the females to actually go and get the kudu around. So the way that lions would hunt generally is some of them will stay in one position and maybe just open and like sort of like a fan arrangement, then one of them tends to go around and sort of around and try to spook the prey towards the rest of the lion. So I think maybe this female... No? Oh, you got me all excited there. I think they've decided against it, sadly. Okay. I think they've decided the kudu have gone away. They are tired. They walked quite a distance. Oh, look, how adorable is that? Oh, my heart might just melt. That is so cute. Okay. Guys.
Are you a fan of the Juma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our Hyena Hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Juma clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of hyena celebrations. Long misunderstood as dim-witted, gluttonous scavengers, the hyena over the years has had a serious PR crisis on its paws. Here at WildEarth, our beloved Juma clan has allowed us a chance to set the record straight.
We're sitting here with the Juma clan.
So now it's time to honor this critical animal and join our Hyena Hullabaloo. Trishala Naidu, a self-confessed hyena lover, will be leading the celebrations, culminating in a chance to name Ribbon's new cubs.
Well, we know who the hungry cats in the family are. We've got them to the right, and the non-hungry ones to the left. Sorry, I didn't catch the name properly. Turtle? I'm sorry if that's the wrong one. Generally, tracks are the easiest, well, not the easiest, but they are a good way. Turtle are a good way to find the lions. I mean, in this case, we nearly drove over them. Well, not over them, but right next to them. But yesterday, for example, we found them by following their sounds. The other pride had a kill. Don't really know what it was at this stage. Still sustained that it was a young buffalo calf. And we could hear them, because lions are very vocal animals, especially when they're eating. They just kind of, there's no sharing in the lion world. They all hunt together, but when it comes to food, each lion will not happily share their food. So we could just hear them growling, and then we were like, okay, cool, maybe they're somewhere around here. And then we went off-road, and that's how we found them. So sometimes when they're eating, or if you have males, for example, that are roaring, obviously the roar carries a certain distance, but it helps you pinpoint the location of an animal. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can smell a kill, especially when it gets quite stinky. But I wanted to touch back. Apparently, there were some more lions that were found inside of Torchwood, and there is talk that that is the rest of the other Nkuhumas with the younger ones. And I do think from looking at the tracks that at some stage they met up throughout the night, because we had tracks for smaller lions closer to Buffelshoek, Galago, and then those tracks went off and these guys carried on. So, I mean, I suspect that at least they were, if they didn't meet up, they walked similar roads. But these guys, I don't know, seems like the younger female on the further end or further away from us, or where the camera is, she's still hungry. She's the one that's carried on looking at the kudu, but yeah, the tension's gone. They're definitely not going to be hunting at this stage. And it's funny how I think they're actually quite cold, and that's why they all puddled up together. I know Trishala was touching earlier on how animals deal with the cold. Well, this is one way. It's just huddling up together, and birds also do it, and it's quite funny to sometimes see, especially things like the little bee eaters. They do it quite well. They all kind of mash together just to try and preserve the heat. Same with lions. And at one stage, it kind of seemed like they all wanted to stand in the exact same spot. Now that this beautiful sunlight is coming up, maybe they'll be happier. Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys, let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
this morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
Oh my goodness, so many landmines. Elephants, look what you've done. All right. Let's hope that we don't... Okay. Right or left? Right here. Okay. That lion looks very grumpy. Look at that face. He is not looking impressed with life. Oh, now you're sleeping. So you're, you know, the glare was just for me. And it's quite amazing how sometimes, you know, lions and leopards all walk and they look at you and you know they're looking at you as an individual. I think this lion was doing just that. Cat lover, I agree. This is what lions do best. They get us excited and then, whoop, it all fades away. But it's fine, you know. I'll put up with it every single time because when they do hunt or when they do stuff, it's actually very cool. So can't really complain about it. I don't think they'll be right in the same spot in the afternoon. There's not a lot of shade under that little tree that they've chosen. So I think it just kind of happened that they walked a lot. They got tired. They found the spot that they liked the most and they were like, here, this is where we're sleeping. And it's quite a luxury, being a lion and then just being able to do just that. I mean, imagine as a human, if you could do that in the bush. And we're like, I like this spot. This is where I'm going to sleep because potentially nothing is going to come and eat me. Must be quite nice. I mean, if you think about it, even when we go camping, we need to have like fences and tents and things so that, you know, things like them don't eat us. Trish has made her way back to the Hyena Den, so let's go and catch up with some of those little sweet terrors.
We are back here with a very snoozy Swazi. Not much has changed, clearly. But I was hoping because it's warmed up just a little bit, my gloves are off, that maybe that meant it would be nice and warm for the cubs to come out, because that actually does very much affect them. If it's very cold, then they're happier to be inside the den where they're a little bit more well insulated, especially in a termite mound, which has particularly good ventilation systems, which allows them to have a nice temperature down there in the den. But alas, it's obviously more comfortable in there than out here. And though we are back at the den, I'm sure you're all very happy that we're here, just in case the cubs come out, and probably because you were tired of seeing my mushrooms. But my mushrooms are back. Because why? Because I'm Trishala, that's why. Sorry everyone, a stint with me would not be complete if we didn't see mushrooms. And let's consider the fact that we are in winter. This is not the time we usually see mushrooms, so this is important. Maybe not so much to you, but to me and to getting to know the environment in its totality, I think that's really important that we talk about mushrooms. So these are two that are from that dung pile. So this is one, the Japanese umbrella type one, or it's actually a parasol, but it's called a Japanese umbrella as a common name. And you can see it's very tiny, very delicate, right? Ooh, there we go. Very delicate, very, very thin. I'm going to just turn it around, see if we can have a look at the gills. Firstly, look at that stalk. Look how thin that is. Tiny. If we compare it to Pokey's proby bit, it's even thinner than that. And then let's have a look at the gills. Move this guy away. Very dark. spore pattern. So the gills are dark, and that's where the spores are held. And the spores are dark, which is why the gills look dark. Mel says that the stalk looks like a glass noodle. She would be right. It does look like a glass noodle. Shall we just call this a glass noodle mushroom, Mel, in your honor? I think she'll agree with me. Okay, and then here we had what I first thought might have been a dung roundhead, given where it was. It looked like, well, it was growing out of the dung, and I'll explain why that happens in a moment. But it might actually be a cracked mottle gill. So it's very, very slimy up here. It's got a nice thick stalk, if we compare it again to Pokey's probe part, much thicker. And then if we look underneath here, it doesn't have the same kind of blackness that the Japanese umbrella had, but you can see that the gills are quite dark. Ah, okay, so the first was a glass noodle, now we have a udon noodle. That, wow, Mel is very accurate this morning. And then down here is the little hyphae, which is the way that a mushroom attaches to its, it's actually, the hyphae is the connective network that is a fungus. And the mushroom is just the fruiting body. So if you may have been concerned that I've plucked this living organism from the ground and now it's going to die, it would be the same as plucking an apple from an apple tree. It will not kill the tree, it's just its fruit. So if I toss this into the bush now, it's still going to do its job, which is to let go of the spores that are all hanging out, in these gills here. And the reason that you often find mushrooms growing out of dung is because the spores often settle on leaves, and then animals eat the leaves, and then they go through the gut of animals, and then the spores, it's easier for the spores to start growing through the dung.
In that tree are two carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Well, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see. There he goes. Look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed the marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
You can see the hyenas are far more tolerant of vultures than a lion or leopard would be. Occasionally a hyena will bite sort of a couple of tail feathers out of the back of a vulture, but I've never actually seen them, even once they've caught one, actually kill it. Oh, there we go, nearly got him.
There's an emerald spotted wood dove around the den there. Very sweet little creatures. Oh, Faith, you're making mushroom gravy at the moment and you're enjoying my mushroom chat? Well, I'm so glad that I could inspire you with your mushroom gravy and and my bush mushrooms. I am a huge fan of mushrooms. Firstly, I love to eat mushrooms. All sorts. Not so much shiitake though. But the others, very happy about. And then obviously I love the biology of mushrooms. Or fungus rather, because mushrooms, like I said, are just the fruiting body. One last little tidbit. Mushrooms are more closely related to insects than they are to plants. They're in a completely different kingdom. And they actually have a rigid chitinous components to their cells, which is similar to that of insects. Panda, can you see between these two logs just on the other side of Swazi? Yeah, between those two there. If you go to the other side of it, the other side of those branches, so even further beyond there, I was so convinced that there was a hyena sitting there, but it just seems like an oddly shaped branch. I guess it's the... Do you see what I mean with the shadow? Oh, further down? I was looking a little bit further down. It looked like a cub's face, but it's not a cub, so... It's all good. Man, things are looking really quiet here. That's okay. This evening... Oh, here, woodpecker. This evening we'll come back. But I think for now we'll go bubble about and see what else we can find. I'm hoping I find some elephants and some other cool small creatures. Anyway, let me send you over to Taylor, see what she's getting up to at Pridelands.
Absolutely nothing. Quite literally. We've seen one herd of impala this morning. We have seen lots of elephant tracks crossing out of Pridelands. The greatest sighting we had was really that hornbill and the rattling testicular. Now, I was at Leopard Dam, not one bird. Then I was at Ndlovu Dam, not one bird. So we're not winning today. There's no insects. They're all gone. I'm very disappointed in the arthropods. Very unimpressed. They're always my go-to, but none. Even the ants are hiding away. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Hyena and hippo walking side by side. Terror etched on the expression of little Hippo. Look at this! Last mad dash! Hyena running along beside it. Baby Hippo, jaws gaping. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It did it. The baby Hippo against all odds.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best. And the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
99% sure that the lions actually crossed out last night, because when they were left, they actually weren't very far from the boundary at all. They were right up there. And I think they were looking for the rest of the pride. But anyways, we're going to keep trying and persevering, and hopefully we find something. The Hyena Den at Pridelands seems to be very quiet, but at least Trisha's patience is paid off as a little one has popped its head out.
There is more action. It seems like I've got to threaten them with the fact that I'm going to leave, and then they come out. So we're just moving around now because they're at this other entrance. They just pop their heads out. Again, we want to approach them slowly so they know that they're safe. Hello. You two little things. Okay, so I see the one on the right is the biggest one I've seen at the den so far. I think that one's Heart's cub. It's a little more orangey, a little bit more ginger. like heart, actually. Oh, that's nice. Oh, the little one just copied it. Just gave a stretch in the same fashion, too. Off it goes. So this one's still a bit dark, so must be in Tima's. Of course, please, guys, if you know and you want to help me, please do send your comments through. Earth Lover, you say it must be so exciting to refamiliarize myself with the hyenas. Yeah, it really is. It's a little bit daunting as well because there's so many of them. And when they're young, they're... Look at this. When they're young, they're more difficult to kind of identify. The spots are closer together. But remember that their spots don't change. What happens is their size changes, so then the spots spread out. But if that is Heart's Cub, the bigger one there, and if I'm correct, then that one has quite a definitive spot pattern, at least on the left side, which is the side that it was showing to us. But they're playing a game with me because I'm now on this side and now they're on that side. So both these entrances of the den, they can move between them. It would be so interesting to see what the inside of this den looks like.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
This is amazing. And now she's headed towards the elephants. Yeah. Here comes the male behind us. This is the male lion coming over here. The elephants have huddled up to protect the young ones in the middle, and he's going after that girl. And they are the buffalo going after the lion and the lioness. They're still going after them. Look at that guy charging. Hey!
Hi, Hyena Love. That's an interesting question. Another cub has just come out. I will get to your question, Hyena Love. Just having a look here. This one looks quite shaggy. In fact, this one reminds me of Shimbulu. Ribbon's cub. I wonder if this is, or it was Ribbon's cub. I wonder if this is one of Ribbon's new cubs. So Hyena Lover wanted to know if Corky and who else was it, Mel? Got into a fight, would their cubs still get along? Maybe it was Corky and Ribbon? But I'll get some clarification just now. But in all likelihood, the cubs would still get along. The only difference is that the a fight between two hyena mothers may result in a difference in ranking, in which case the ranking of the cubs can be affected as well. However, if there's a really serious fight, and maybe it results in a death, who knows? Like, I remember when Pretty died, and Pretty and Corky were really close. They had a very solid relationship, or so it appeared. And when Pretty died, Swazi and Ndebele hung around with Ribbon a lot at the den with all the cubs, and they were very, Ribbon was very tolerant of them, even though their mother, Pretty, would have been the, for lack of a better term, best friend of the previous matriarch Corky at that time, who Ribbon had taken over from. So the relationships that the cubs form, because they're all in one area, doesn't seem to be greatly affected in terms of relationship. I mean, whether they play or they don't play, by their mums and the rank and the relationships that their mums have within the clan. But like I said, ranking can be affected, and so who asserts dominance over who could be affected. Wow, that cub that's up against the mound there with, looks like there's two nicks in its ears, really reminds me of one of Ribbon's previous cubs, Shimbulu. It's actually unclear if those are nicks in the cub's ears or whether that's just a developmental thing, because they both seem to have that pattern. Both the ears, that is. So Ribbon has two cubs that are likely to be at this den. As much as I'm really enjoying spending time with the cubs, and I really want to get to know them all, I also really, really want to see interactions between the adults, so that we'll be able to, to figure out what's happening, not really figure out, but to observe what's happening, and maybe have a better idea of what the ranking situation is. Anyway, let me send you back over to Ali and her lions. I might move around to the other side.
Well, our lion puddle continues to be a puddle, but it's a puddle that toys with our emotions every now and again, because they've sort of lifted their heads and then they all get up for a second just to rearrange themselves tighter into the puddle. I don't know if they're trying to weave a crate or a basket or something, but I think we're going to see a lion on top and beneath, and in that very intricate pattern, because I'm not really sure what they're doing. But thanks to Michael Fleetwood for actually sending some IDs on these guys, because it's hard for us when we're gone for a while and then so many things change with the lion dynamics, or even the leopards, just to keep up with who's hanging out with who. So we kind of know that there are breakaway groups and so on, but it's harder to know from the individuals. So, from a personal level, thank you. Because now I know who these guys are, and I know that there are two missing. So the very big male in the middle, he is apparently the ridge-nosed female of the Nkahuma pride. That's his son. And he is he might just be my new favorite one, because he is so big and looks so pretty. And his mom was also very big and pretty. And the rest of the guys around here, so they all grew up in the pride roughly at the same time, but they're not related, they're not from the same mother, let's put it that way, because likely they are from the same father. So this guy that's just got his head up, he is Purple Eye's son, if I'm not mistaken, which is ironic because he's eyes are very lightly colored. So that might be a good way for me to imagine it. And the rest of them that are sort of like lying down that haven't put their heads up, those are all Amber Eyes offspring. And then yesterday, apparently Hert and Trish were with Chella's son. There was another sub-adult there. I would imagine maybe related to Chella as well. Can't tell at this stage. But at least we're putting all the ideas together. And I was complaining yesterday about my COVID brain and my lack of memory and, you know, things just not working out. Oh, but it's good now to try and figure out who's who and who's related to who. So like I was saying yesterday, who needs Sudoku and crosswords when you've got all of this to try and remember and force your brain to remember? So I think that's what I'm going to have fun. I think my recovery is well on its way with all these puzzles, because it's amazing to see just how much dynamics have changed in the last 6 months or so that I haven't been around.
Hello everyone from sunny Namibia. My name is Cameron Pierce, and this year I'll be representing Ongava Game Reserve at the Safari Guide of the Year 2022 edition. You know, a lot of people have asked me what it would be like to win the competition, and it would obviously be an incredible privilege, but even just to be selected as one of the 5 finalists is an honor that I never expected, and special to be a part of it for this year.
My name's Liam Henderson. I'm a guide at the Homestead Lodge on Nambiti Private Game Reserve in KwaZulu-Natal. I think Safari Guide of the Year is a great competition to be a part of. I'm somewhat nervous for the tracking part of the competition, as being in KZN now, haven't been exposed to the low-felt animals and tracks and signs that are so apparent up there.
No problem. So they were all there at the buffalo kill last week, but the kill was actually made by these guys and the 2 adult females. Purple Eye was there. Her leg wasn't looking in great condition, but she looked fairly full. So they were actually quite happy. And then Blondie and Mohawk, the 2 Avoca, which are the dominant, or some of the dominant males in this area, they actually came in and stole the kill and monopolized, and they weren't letting the rest of the pride feed, which it was an incredible sighting actually. There was so much noise and growling for the longest time. It was actually pretty interesting to witness. And like I said, I had an interesting view of the male lion that is there in the middle, that young male. And shoulder height, he was just as big as the 2 Avoca. So he's going to be a big lion because he's not done growing, and the other 2 are big dominant males. So I think I'm going to root for him. Hopefully he'll make it, because, I mean, all of them in general, but he's going to be a pretty big lion. So I like big lions. I like them. They're cool, especially when they get those big manes. Even if right now they look like, you know, they're all fluffy and cuddly. Gert and I were actually saying it would be quite nice if we could just go in the middle there and be like, excuse me, please can I, you know, have a spot in here? Because it actually looks quite nice and warm. But, you know, this is in theory. In real life, lions carry so many parasites and things on their skins that would probably not be a good idea. Even vets, whenever they're treating carnivores, latex gloves are the first things that go on, because you can get so many diseases from wildlife in general that can jump into humans. Anyway, we're going to stick around with these guys for a little bit more, see if they actually do get up and maybe move somewhere else. But in the meantime, we'll send you guys across to Trish.
That sounds like a great plan. I'd certainly ask animals. You can always ask, right? So, the cubs are moving around too. So apparently that is Ribbon's cub that looks a lot like Shimbulu, which is very interesting because there's a likeness there, which is also nice to see. So Ribbon's cub and Heart's cub have gone on a bit of a walk about. Maybe we'll see. So I'm positioning ourselves like this so that you can see and Tima's cub there. And that we'll still get to see the other 2 if they come back through that pathway. You can hear the green woodhoopers. They obviously like hanging around this den. Okay, so I'm pretty happy that we saw Novella this morning, and I know what Heart's cub looks like, and what Ribbon's one cub looks like at least, and what Intima's one cub looks like. So we're definitely getting there. Oh, if ever I saw a cub on a mission, that was the mission walk. What are you looking at, little cub? Maybe your friends are coming back.
Are you a fan of the Juma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our Hyena Hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Juma clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of hyena celebrations. Long misunderstood as dim-witted, gluttonous scavengers, the hyena over the years has had a serious PR crisis on its paws. Here at WildEarth, our beloved Juma clan has allowed us a chance to set the record straight.
We're sitting here with the Juma clan.
So now it's time to honor this critical animal and join our Hyena Hullabaloo. Trishala Naidu, a self-confessed hyena lover, will be leading the celebrations, culminating in a chance to name Ribbon's new cubs.
There's a proper stare down happening between, or at least there was, between Intima's cub and this hornbill. Please excuse our aerial there. Panda's doing his best to film through the back of our vehicle. So that's probably a caterpillar that the hornbill has, because you could, down the hatch. You could see that it was rubbing it against that branch. That's usually what it will do if it's trying to get those spiny bits of a caterpillar broken and off, perhaps, but mostly broken and rubbed off so that it can swallow it with ease. And that's what got the attention of Intima's cub, who looks like it's now decided that that was just too intense for it. Oh, but the hornbill's back. It's landed a little closer. The cub's curious. If there's a word for bird lover in Shangaan, that would be a good name for this one. But I understand that you've got the names already, the different types of names to choose from. And it's gone. I'm hoping that it'll come out. It'll bring out more cubs. So then I can get familiar with and start to have in my head what the other cubs look like. The fact that Ribbon and Heart's cub went down that pathway which leads towards Treehouse Dam just makes me think of that story I told you about the two hyena cubs that were trying to bite the bottom of a hippo. I'm sure that's not happening, though I am tempted to go down to the dam and have a look. We'll wait for a little bit, because they're obviously active at the moment. Billy Wild Guy, hi. Thanks for your question. You'd like to know if hyena cubs would ever fight each other to the death. It does happen, but it doesn't happen as often as we once thought that it does, or that it did. So there are times that competition can be really, really intense between cubs, And while siblicide, which is when one of a litter kills the other, so it kills their sibling, that at one point that was something that was widely believed as a common thing that would happen amongst hyenas, but we've since found out that that's not the case. Though there are incidences of that, it's definitely far less common than we once thought. Oh, hello you. Another one comes out, probably the same one. But amongst cubs that are, say, not siblings, it can happen as well, but it doesn't happen very often. So hyenas don't... Ooh, that's quite a painful ear. Ooh, that looks very red and sore. So this, if the other cub was Intima's one cub, this one looks a similar size. Could it be Intima's second cub? Cool. I'm getting there, everybody. Getting there. Anyway, back to your question. This is more the type of injury that you would see. Sorry, that's just my zip. With hyena cubs that are playing together, and that can get a little bit rough, than for them to actually kill each other. Because also there's really no reason for that to happen, because while it is possible for cubs to suckle, like especially the matriarch's cubs to be forced, or the matriarch to force a subordinate to suckle her cubs, it has happened, has been recorded, but it's not very common. Sometimes they can try, but whether they actually get milk is a separate issue. But it has been recorded, it's just not very common. So that means that there's very little competition for cubs, because that means that they have their designated mother that will feed them. And remember that hyena cubs suckle for a long time, up to 15, 16 months. So there shouldn't be too much reason for them to fight to the death.
My name is Nico Brits. I am originally from Cape Town. I worked in the Eastern Cape for about 9 years before I started working at Bushwise Field Guides in the Lowveld, close to Makalali Private Game Reserve. So I'm hoping that by doing this could inspire the younger or newer guides coming into the industry to do the same.
Hello everyone, my name is Robu. I'm from Lion Sands Game Reserve, and being nominated for the Safari Guide of the Year came as somewhat of a surprise to me. I was very excited and quite nervous as well in the beginning to tackle this task, but it's quite a prestigious event, and it means that you are recognized, and I'm quite happy to be recognized. It means quite a lot to me.
So a small injury, like this one that Intima's cub had, even though it just looks like a bit of fur and skin may have come off the ear, because the actual part of the ear is still there, it's still intact. But with a whole lot of cubs living in a den, and there being a high risk of pathogens and pests and parasites, etc. in the den, because of the density, all the cubs here, then, or at least not all living here, but at least using this den, that injury could get infected. So that's something to look out for, any signs of infection. I must say right now that injury looks, if I could say, very healthy. The blood is bright red. You don't see anything oozing from it, anything like that. So it looks like it's being well taken care of. And then also, many animals will use their tongues to lick wounds. And that's very, very important, because saliva has a number of important things. One is lysozyme, and the other thing is clotting factor. So that stops bleeding and can act as an antibacterial aid. Hi Gizmo, you'd like to know if the hyena cubs smell as bad as the adult hyenas? They do. They do. So the thing is that the hyenas don't always smell bad. Like now there's not really a smell. There's a slight not so crisp smell, if that makes sense, but there's no real stink, if I can say that. But the thing is, if the adults are very smelly, then the cubs are likely to be very smelly as well. And I've smelt it all when it comes to the hyenas. And I've not had an occasion where this cub smells fine, but the adult doesn't. And that makes sense, because if they're feeding in a carcass and they come back and then they lick their cubs and all that sort of thing, the smell is bound to transfer. I wonder where those two have gone. Bet they're gone, but down to Trios Dam. But once upon a time, there was a play den down there. So maybe that's where they're gone.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Yeah, so the fact that Swazi is still sitting here makes me hopeful that her cub will come out, but I'll give it a few more minutes and, like I said, we'll move on. And for now, I'm going to send you over to Ali with her lions.
Well, that looks like an interesting setup right there. So we've got some... I think that's one of the females. Are you one of the females? I forgot now. Yes, you are one of the females. Thank you for showing me your neck. That was busy licking herself, grooming herself. And, you know, it's got its sibling pretty much on top of her, not wanting to move off, even though she was clearly trying to get to some sensitive areas. Now, she's continued the grooming. Oh, hello. I love it when they lie together like that. It is just simply adorable. But they've actually not been up to much. I thought maybe by now they would have moved off and maybe just walk somewhere under a tree or something like that. But it hasn't actually become too hot. They've got a good spot, so why would they actually move? We bumped into one of the cars coming from Torch would bump into us, and then they did say to us that not incredibly far from here, the rest of the four females of the Nkuhuma Pride with all of the youngsters, there's 7 also younger, I'm going to call them sub-adults because they're cubs, but they're not little cubs, so they're just an in-betweener. Yearlings, let's put it there. That were also there. So I wonder who the extra 4th female that is with them is. I'm not sure, they couldn't tell us. But all these lions have kind of been around, not too far from one another. And now these ones are just in a big puddle. They don't seem fully relaxed. We have heard Hert and I have been giggling because every now and again you can hear the big male in the middle there snoring, which is quite funny. And actually he reminds me of Taylor's dog, Tucker, that kind of snores in a similar way. Oh, are you going to get up? So they've been doing this. They get up, they reshuffle, and then they go back down. So they've been toying with our emotions because we think maybe they're going to walk, maybe they're going to go somewhere else, but there's just a, repositioning, move somewhere else. Look at that. Almost like a cat or a dog, isn't it? The way that she was biting his ear. Just saying hello, grooming, making sure that they keep good relationships with everybody else. It's almost, if you think about it, as humans also, we tend to, and I don't mean this in a creepy way by any means, but like when you're in a close relationship with someone, you tend to touch someone. It's always like, touching their shoulder without getting, too descriptive on this kind of stuff. There's sort of like a friendliness that goes beyond the normal acquaintance level. And it's the same for lions. If they're related to one another, or if they, in order to keep good relationships, they're obviously like grooming one another or sleeping on top of one another, which is easy to understand as a human, as we are, as a sociable animal, that we rely on touch and talking to other people and seeing other people. Well, it's kind of the same for them. Just got to make sure that you keep your friendliness levels, because you don't know when you're going to need the rest of the pride to come in and help you out with something. Seems like these guys are pretty bonded, and if they do move off, I mean, not always the females break away from the prides and move off with the young males, especially the young females, but it does happen every now and again. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys, I mean, it seems like we've got an overload of lions now between the Chalamatis and these guys and then the rest of the Nkuhumas. So I wouldn't be surprised if these females actually just break away and then they just go with the males and form their own pride somewhere. But I guess it's one of those things that time will tell. Because if there's one thing that lions tend to do quite often is surprise us with their dynamics. Just as soon as you think you've got them figured out, then somebody pops from somewhere, or a male comes from somewhere else, or they decide to start associating with the rest of them, or they decide that they don't like the rest of them. Just, it can be such a settled thing for such a long time, and then all of a sudden, it's just very different.
My name is Solomon Robu. I am working at Singita Kruger National Park. I am very excited today to be one of the guys that have been nominated or selected to participate in the Safari Guide of the Year. I'm an activator. I like starting something, motivating others to become better. I am positive. I like to focus on the positive sides of the situation.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Heart's cub, adventurous and brave, and daughter to one of our most loved mothers. Is her name Moya, meaning wind or soul, for that adventurous side? Is it Shiluva, meaning flower, for her growth? Or is it Mbilo, meaning heart, as Heart's daughter with a heart on her side? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
So I was just saying, I think it's one of the interesting things about lions, that they're all in the same place until they're not, and there's almost like no explanation. But they don't always rest in the same place. They pretty much, any spot can be a good place to rest. They will have preferences in terms of like what kind of areas they like to rest in, or like, so now, for example, they're here, it's not too hot, the sun shines every now and again, so they just can stay here the whole day without much of an issue. But if we were in the summertime, by this time it would be incredibly hot, and the shade provided by these trees would probably not be enough to keep them cool, so they would go into or tuck themselves into a thicket or under the shade of a much bigger, shadier tree. So I suppose they might have certain areas where they've lied before that they enjoy, but they don't. It's not like they'll always go to the same spot or have a preferred spot that would be the to-go place in one specific area. I mean, they've got the luxury of being the apex predator around here, so they can pretty much do whatever it is that they want, and sleeping wherever they want is one of those added benefits. I mean, just look at them. Even these guys that are supposed to keep themselves away from the rest of the pride and so on, or, the big dominant males just pretty much decided to sleep under this tree. Of all trees. I am surprised, though, that a female that is on the furthest left is not hot yet. She's got a bunch of lions on top of her, which would add to the body heat, and then she's the one that keeps getting the most sun, whereas the ones in the middle are a little bit in the cooler spot. But I'd be surprised if these guys are in the exact same spot this afternoon. I think they'll likely move. I mean, it's a busy road, as we've seen lots of cars driving up and down. Likely it's going to get busier throughout the day, and then maybe they'll just move somewhere else. Seems like Trish is getting very lucky with some more action at the Hyena Den. We'll send you guys across to her, and I think we're just going to leave our sleepy lions and then head out somewhere else. See if maybe there is anything else out there that we've missed this morning. Bye, sleepyheads.
My threats seem to have worked, because now we have another lot out of the den. So one is Intima's cub, the one with the injury on the ear, and then the smallest one is probably Swazi's cub. Again, if you know, please let MC know, and then they will let me know. And then also, Ribbon's second cub has come out. Also looks quite a lot like Shimbulu. Darker face, darker second half of the face, quite shaggy. Oh, the smallest one is has that fuzz going on, that little cub fuzz. So if I am correct, this is just wonderful, because it means that we've seen hearts, 2 of Ribbons, 2 of Intimas, and Swazi's as well.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Corky's cub, the boldest and proudest of the group. Is their name Koa, showing boldness, fearlessness, and bravery? Is it Kalula, as the energetic and speedy one? Or is it Zunani, the leader? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Intima's first cub, and they're turning out to be quite the handful. Is their name Loki, after the Norse god of mischief and trickery? Is it Hlongavi, the one who can't be tamed? Or is it Shihleko, full of giggles? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
This youngest fuzzball one saw Swazi, but then didn't go up to her, so I wonder if it is her cub. But this afternoon I'm going to take some photos of them so that we can get a good idea of who's who. And then we can do a bit of an ID thingy in the next few drives. Do a little bit of an ID chart to help us all out. But to start off, I'm going to need some good photos of you, and then I can pick out your most prominent patterns. Also moving in that direction. Hi, Momo, and hello, you little. That is a good distance. You keep it that way. There we go. Momo would like to know, why are some cubs shaggier than other cubs? So when the cubs are just born and they're still all black, they have this kind of fuzz, which is what that smallest cub has. And then as they grow out and they get their spots, well, their legs might be still darker and their hindquarters a little bit darker, they start to get shaggier. and then that shagginess leaves them. And it takes a bit of a time, and they're like maybe just about a year old before they get rid of the shagginess. And that's just something we've noticed with hyenas, but it may be that it helps to keep them warm and insulated, especially when that softer fur, which is better for insulation and keeping them warm, that they have when they're just born, that softer fur starts to go away. Then a shaggier fur comes in, and that makes sense because they still want to be warm because they're still small. Okay, interesting. So this is another cub that's come out. This is Gingery cub. So this could be Corky's cub. I'm just going by what I've heard from people, what I am picking up. So it seems that Ribbon's cub has led Ntima's 2 cubs down the road towards where Ribbon's first cub and Heart went on a walkabout. I mean, Ribbon's first cub and Heart's cub went on a walkabout. And now we have Corky's slightly oranger cub and the littlest Swazi's one at the den. We're getting somewhere, everyone. We're getting somewhere. Do you know what I want to do? There's a reason they're heading down there. The thing is, I can't off-road for them. So I'm gonna do a quick... We're going to do a quick drive along the access road, along Taxon's Road, down to the dam, and then we'll come right back. I just want to see if there's potentially something else down there that's attracting them. Maybe there's more adults, maybe the mum's there, or some of their mums are there. Oh, sorry, little ones. Okay, I'm very excited. Hi, TLO. You'd like to know if this is the first time that the clan has had this many cubs. So close together? It is. I think it is. Although the last lot, the Swazi and Ndebele's lot, which is 2 lots ago, there were quite a few as well. There was Swazi and Ndebele, that's Pretty's 2. There was Ribbon's 1. There was Corky's 1. That was Plonk. I think Ribbon's 1 was Paddy. Was it? No, Plonk was before that. I think to answer your question, yes, this is the first time there's this many small ones in one go. But I'm gonna try to remember. Okay, so the last lot was the Ngwazi Shimbulu Braveheart cohort. Then the lot before that was the, oh look, it's an Impala with quite an injury, and it's gone. Never mind. It had a bit of an injury on its side. Okay, then the lots before that was Swazi, Ndebele, Paddy. Who was Corky's at the time? I can just imagine all of you shouting at me. Like, what about this one? I have to refresh my memory. They were all named after African languages. Can I tell you? I'll tell you a joke in a moment when I remember it properly.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ntima's second born, and dare we say golden child, full of fun? Is their name Kira, the beam of light? Is it Kemba, meaning faithful in Norse? Or is it Mikateko, the blessed one? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Juma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's second born, with nicked ears and a softer heart full of adventure. Is their name Rangani, the adventurer? Is it Twela, the sensitive and empathetic one? Or is it Spirit, for that spirited soul we love so much? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
Oh, one of the best sounds in the African bush. It's a plane. Oh, that was sarcasm if you couldn't tell. But I am, so this, our dwarf mongoose, thank you very much, but we're going to, I just see an Ellie coming down to have a drink here. Hopefully the cubs might pop out. Ah, yes. Beautiful elephants coming out. Ah, there was June's cubs, Swana, and Sutu. I'm still remembering the African languages cohort. Here we have some Ellies. I'm just going to turn the vehicle around so I have easy access to go back if we see the cubs coming. So just give me a moment and then I'll position myself nicely so that we can see the elephants. And then I'll tell you what I thought about that was a joke later when we go back to the cubs. It'll only make sense if you're South African, though. Yes, some nice Ellies having a bit of a drink. Oh, I love when they do that. When they break grass and then they bang it on their heads. Sometimes not even on their heads, but they bang it under their chin. Like that. That's a way for them to dust any soil off the ends of the grass so that they're not chewing on it, because that would damage their teeth. I mean, just the fact that they have a diet of grass damages their teeth already. But you don't want to damage it extra by eating soil. Oh, I love elephants. There's a whole lot coming down, actually. That's the thing about elephants, is you see one, like I just spotted one from there, and then suddenly they emerge from the bush. And especially when the bush is starting to get a little bit grayer, because the bush, when it gets dry, it doesn't really get brown, it gets gray, kind of washed out. Then the elephants really blend in very well. On that side of the dam, there's a spring. So elephants often move in that direction. Hi, Toby. You'd like to know if elephants ever migrate. We had a similar question yesterday where we were asked about whether impalas migrate. And the answer is pretty much the same. They don't with the current circumstances. So did elephants' ancestors or other earlier lineages migrate? Possibly, especially since the Earth was in a less stable state in the past, with ice ages, and even now we're in an interglacial period. But this is a stable period. So in the past that may have happened. Elephant ancestors may have migrated to take advantage of resources. But, oh, Panda, look at that, just in the distance there. But at the moment, because of the varied diet of an elephant, they can eat leaves. They're mixed feeders, so they're eating leaves. They're eating grasses. They're eating fruits. They're eating the bark of trees, the cambium layer in the bark. That means that they can pretty much take advantage of the areas in which they roam. And elephants don't have territories, they have home ranges. And those are very, very large home ranges that they travel within. And herds that are on the fringes of those home ranges are often herds that they are related to in some way. So there's no need for them to migrate. The need to migrate comes from insufficient resources that forces you to move from one spot to another. Now they've arrived at that freshwater spout by this dam. They'll probably spend a bit of time here.
7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Ribbon's firstborn, distinct from their sibling by their full round ears and more curious nature. Is their name Matimba, meaning strength? Is it Shongela, the defender of the weak? Or is it Wiley, the crafty and cheeky one? Head over to our website to cast your vote. 7 of our favorite furballs are ready to rumble and receive names as members of the Djuma clan. And who better to name these cubs than you? This is Swazi's cub, our surprise wanderer. Is their name Saga, meaning story in Icelandic? Is it Matimu, for history made? Or is it Masingita, the surprise? Head over to our website to cast your vote.
Hi, Minnie Mane. You'd like to know if an elephant would be able to survive without its tusks? Certainly, it can survive very well at that. And we know that because there are many populations of elephants that are tuskless. In fact, there's at least 2 females that I've seen here who are tuskless. And the origins of that tusklessness is the fact that when ivory poaching was particularly rampant, case especially is that for Mozambique. And that lends well to this example because the elephants from Mozambique can travel down here into South Africa through the Transfrontier Park, and includes the Kruger. So, elephants that were hunted for ivory were obviously elephants that had big tusks. Not only big tusks, but it was so rampant at that time that it was any elephant with a tusk was at risk. And already there was a recessive gene for tusklessness, so there were already a portion of the population that had no tusks. And as you can imagine, that portion of the population was not affected by poaching because they didn't have what poachers wanted, which were tusks. And so that meant that the amount of recessive genes that were associated with tusklessness became more prevalent. There were more individuals that carried the recessive gene for tusklessness, which meant that ultimately in the larger population, as they began to breed with each other, tusklessness became a little bit more common. But then you might ask yourself, well, why have tusks in the first place if they can survive fine without them? tusks are very important to the strategies that of an elephant's life. So especially for males would use them to fight, and that's how they would, even though they're not territorial, that's how they would assert their dominance over other males, especially for mating rights. So in that way they are affected. They also use their tusks to strip bark and to cut down branches, break branches rather. And so it's an important part of their life, but it's not something that they would die if they did not have. I'm just going to be quiet now for a little because I've spoken over this wonderful scene. Let's just enjoy the sounds and the sights for a little bit.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
So this large bull, he's not a very old bull, but he keeps knocking tusks with this female, and she keeps blocking the view of her calf. Calf is not very old either, I mean, not very young. And the only reason that a bull that size should be in this herd is if he wants to mate. Often they will just follow them around if he's familiar with the herd, especially when he's older. But this looks like this male is trying to see if she's going to be receptive to mating. He's probably using his trunk to touch around. There we go. So he's just touched between her leg with his trunk. He even touched into her mouth before and then put it to his mouth, where he'll test the quality of all the hormones that she's producing, both in her saliva and in her... There, he's grabbed her tail, look at that. And in her urine too. So he's definitely looking to mate. She's not that interested. She still has that smaller calf. There we go. That calf is only about maybe 2 years old. Not very tiny, maybe almost close to 3, but if 3 he should be, or he or she, can't tell, looks like a small he, would have little tusks poking out. But she is definitely not ready to mate again. So that interaction we saw was her kind of pushing him away, but she also knows he's bigger than her, and she doesn't want him to cause any damage to her or her calf, most importantly. So she let him test her urine, but obviously gave him some signals. He, on the other hand, looked a little bit scorned, staring longingly in her direction. Sorry, guy. Maybe next time. Maybe go after a female who doesn't have a young calf. Females with calves that are still lactating also are producing hormones that make them smell different to a cow that is not. They may not be specific. They may not be the same hormones that are produced by a cow that is in estrus, but it's still attractive, and so he's still got to test it. Anyway, that was a lovely interaction. Let me go back to figure out what the hyena cubs were doing, and let me send you over to Ali.
Well, it smells delicious, like a lot of wild basil while we're driving on. We are gonna go check where we had the kill yesterday with the lions, purely because Tristan's been around this area trying to find Lalamba. So he says that she's pretty much walked everywhere, and then yesterday afternoon we didn't really have any tracks for her, but he says that this morning she's just walked everywhere and he can't really figure out in which direction she's gone. So one of the possibilities that we're toying with is that because the lions pretty much ran off yesterday and didn't seem like they finished off their kill here, and then she maybe, scavenged whatever it is that was left. Maybe the lions left something. So we're just gonna make our way, see if there's anything left there, if there are any signs of a leopard and her two cubs there. Fingers crossed. Because it seems like she's walked pretty much everywhere where we drove yesterday. So her tracks are apparently on top of my vehicle tracks.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose. Are you a fan of the Juma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our Hyena Hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Juma clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of hyena celebrations.
Eden lions often have conflicts within the pride. Minor conflicts, nothing too major, but especially... I think this is where I was yesterday. Sorry, standing by.
Yeah, I found here on the junction, you post the quarry plan. Looks like she's here with the cubs. There's just leopard tracks all over the road here, going in all directions. So I'm just going to quickly have a scratch and see which way they go.
Sorry, confirm a Hippo Bull's cheetah cut line. Okay, he might have jumped out of the car. So, sorry, yes. Whenever they come into a kill in particular, they don't like sharing, so it's pretty much every lion for itself. They're very vocal. A lot of the times they'll get irritated with one another and they'll start hissing or growling or even hitting each other. I don't know if you noticed earlier, that young male lion that we saw, he had a lot of scars on his nose already, so very likely that is not from hunting. That's probably from, either playing or getting reprimanded by other lions.
From this junction towards the actual pan itself. I'm just going to quickly scratch around here.
To the actual pan. Okay, copy. Righty. So Tristan is looking for her. It seems like the tracks go sort of in a different direction, so I'm going to leave the area because maybe this hypothesis wasn't right. It seems like he's managed to find some tracks of the cubs on top of his vehicle tracks. So judging by the sounds of it, she's just enjoying giving everyone the runaround. I'm going to get myself out the same way we came in, without breaking anything. Don't really like breaking things. And then we're going to come that area just to give Tristan a hand, which is not too far from where we are. But I wouldn't be surprised if she were there. Actually, might even be easier to go out this way after all this reversing. Okay, let's redo this. Do not take my clutch line, guys. Thank you very much. Off we go. Danny lions don't really treat their wounds in the sense. What they often do is they lick their wounds just to try and keep them clean. I'm sure as they start scabbing, they become a little bit itchy. But that's basically all the treatment that there is. They don't really do anything else than that. And in this area, in the Sabi side, we don't treat animals with injuries. We pretty much leave them to themselves so that nature can take its course. In other parts of Africa, people will have different policies. But in this area, unless it's a man-inflicted wound or a man-caused problem, then we don't really intervene. Right, let me just... I think I'm actually getting us deeper, so I'm gonna go back. Sorry, I was not too clever in my choice of path. Yeah, but I don't know how to get there. Can I turn there? Okay. Getting myself out of here. It's been an interesting experience. At least it keeps me quite nice and warm.
Long misunderstood as dim-witted, gluttonous scavengers, the hyena over the years has had a serious PR crisis on its paws. Here at WildEarth, our beloved Djuma clan has allowed us a chance to set the record straight.
We're sitting here with the Djuma clan.
So now it's time to honor this critical animal and join our hyena hullabaloo. Trishala Naidu, a self-confessed hyena lover, will be leading the celebrations, culminating in a chance to name Ribbon's new cubs.
Find a way into the kill to get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys. Let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
So I'm going to try and pick up the packs on the other side of him.
Okay, copy. Sorry, seems like she has gone south on Drakensberg. I don't know what Tristan is saying, so I'm going to try and figure it out and send you guys across to Trish in the meantime.
I love it when you're in the bush and you're off-roading and then you're just trying to find the road again. And then when you finally do, it feels so good. So I hope that Ali does find the road again. The den is not active. Everyone has left. I mean, Swazi's still sitting there in a ball. but all the cubs still seem to have left down that pathway. I couldn't figure out where they had gone, but that pathway, or that game path rather, leads down to Treehouse Dam. It also spins off and goes towards Elephant Carcass across Weaver's Nest. And it's a path that the adults use very, very, very often. So it could be that the cubs have just seen the adults use it often, and so they just walk along it. There have been times where I've seen that happen before, and then have just found them sitting along the path further down. So maybe they're not using it to go somewhere else, they're just using it to get away from the den. It's just a little bit suspicious because so many of them moved off. It made me think that maybe there's another den. So let me just show this to you. They use this briefly, and I wouldn't even call it a den. It was more just like an area that I'd sometimes see them around, almost like a play area, but I never saw anybody denning in it. So maybe they went there.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
In that tree are two carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Well, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see. There he goes. Look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed the marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
Our elephants are still around here. I'm going to go to the other side so then I can see the path and see the elephants. So I'm going to keep my eye down here while you guys have a look down here. Hi, Frankie. You'd like to know if the female elephant calves stay with the herd for life? Yes, they do. Unless, of course, the herd becomes very large and, say, their mother decides to break away. But otherwise, it's a matriarchal line within an elephant herd. So they stay within their herd. It's only the males that disperse. And so that means that a herd consists of maybe a grandmother or several generations of females. A grandmother, her daughters, their daughters, and then a new set of calves. That is the sound of Egyptian geese. Elephants often get irritated with birds that are noisy or move too fast. Sometimes not even any of those things. They just get irritated with the presence of birds. And I feel like Egyptian geese are the right kind of irritating bird for it. Look at that. Hey Lisa M, you said that today's Bumble was amazing and you loved every bit of it. I'm so glad that you did, Lisa M. I'm sorry, Panda, but I'm going to swing you around because there's a cute little squirrel just in a little ball there. Our elephants are moving off. The views is deteriorating, shall we say, getting worse. And then there's a cute little, look at this. Hello, you. Your tail is wrapped around the front side of you because you were cold. Keeping your little feet warm. It's a tree squirrel, everyone. I'm very familiar with them all over the reserve, all over camp. And they are very, very sweet. They do cause a bit of chaos, but I suppose all of the cute things do at some point. That's a nice little branch to be on as well because there's some sun pouring through onto it. Looks like a red bush willow. And it's also a really nice way to end our drive with a bit of variety. We had the big here at the dam. We had the small, we had the mongoose, we had the lions. It was awesome. So, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you for your questions and your comments. I'll leave you with this beautiful view as the elephants walk away, and we'll see you this afternoon for Sunset Safari.